Hi, welcome to Shared Frequencies and the Space Between, where heart meets brain and life happens in the messy middle.
We're two best friends navigating a new chapter, sharing a space, finding our rhythm, and tuning into life's transitions.
This is a space for deep and meaningful conversations about growth, connection, and everything in between. Let's tune in to today's frequency.
Hello and welcome back to Shared Frequencies and the Space Between. My name's Don.
And I'm Elle.
And today's episode is called Signal Check. Yes, so this is going to be the kind of signature name for our quarterly check-ins. So just a chat about where we're at, what's been going on, how things are, etc., etc., etc. So, yeah, so what's this now? Well, I suppose technically it's not. Is it quarterly?
Yeah, it will be quarterly.
We're there or thereabouts, yeah.
Yeah, so it will be the last week of May, and you moved in the first week of March.
Yes.
So
and because I keep on going, when did we put out our first?
Yeah, you're thinking of it in podcast
terms, but it's not. It's in terms of my taking up the cohabiting offer to move in here. So yeah, so where to start? I
think a lot has happened in the past 3 months, right? It's just been...
Lots happened in the last 3 weeks.
Lots has happened in the last 3 weeks. Yeah.
It's been... It's weird. Time is weird, man. Time is weird.
It totally is. So, yeah, I mean, I suppose for me, I think it's been good. It's been comfortable. The transition has been comfortable.
Yeah.
And I expected it to be.
Yeah.
I didn't expect there to be anything monumental that was kind of going to crop up, because we talked about it and kind of, we know each other really well. You know, I'd come for long stays previously.
Yeah.
You know, so there was I wasn't expecting anything major, but there was that kind of in the back of my head. There was kind of like, there's a difference between coming for a visit and going, I live here now.
Yeah.
This is my home.
Yeah.
So, but there hasn't been anything. I mean, as you said, there's been lots have kind of happened. There's been lots going on, both individually and in terms of, just our space here. So
so like time wise, it doesn't feel like that much time has passed, but it has been 3 months. But if you're looking at what has happened for both of us within that span of 3 months, like where you were at mentally and physically and emotionally in March, you were still sort of like coming out of that severe burnout.
Yes.
Which I think you have surpassed. Are you feeling any sort of like lingering things with that?
Not in terms of my mental health, no. I've parked it. No, I've not parked it. I've moved past it.
Beyond it.
Yeah. Because parked it was just not dealing with it, but yeah, just little things that kind of I've stopped thinking about it.
Yeah.
I've stopped thinking about my past position and the situation that I was in and the things that have been going on, because I know initially that was a kind of like, it was a checking in, what's going on, what's happening, and it's just kind of like,
there was that one thing, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, when like news came out and you're like,
but that was something that came to me. That was information that came to me. It wasn't information that I had sought out. So I think I'm mentally I'm in a far better place. I think also the last 3 weeks in doing the kitchen has been really
kickstarting your brain,
really good. It was a project to get focused into and get the sleeves rolled up. and get going again.
Get the cobwebs dusted off of your brain.
Yeah, you know, so, because I knew I had to take a proper break.
Yeah.
You know, I really had to take a proper break. Otherwise I was just going to go, or I was in danger of just ending up back where I was again.
Yeah.
Really quickly.
Yeah.
So for me, it's been good. In that sense, it's been good in that sense. You know.
I also think your physical health has changed a bit.
I've lost weight.
Yeah.
I've lost weight. I'm not one for stepping on the scales and measuring my weight these days.
Well, you don't have to when your clothes are hanging off of you.
But it's exactly that, you know. It's just kind of like
the fear of dropping your trousers when you're out and about.
Yeah, you know, it's just like, but it's things like, oh, I need to go another notch in my belt. Oh, actually, that's the last notch in my belt. You know, just in my general movement and getting about, and you know, out walking the dog, and you know, I go out walking the dog, and it's kind of like, actually, I don't mind if we take a walk down and along the prom or whatever it be, because actually the hill back up isn't going to kill me.
Yeah.
You know, so in that sense, you know, definitely, just.
But I also think there is something to be said for removing that emotional burden and baggage, right? I think once we're dealing with whatever is emotionally weighing us down, once that emotional weight is gone, I think we'll also see a shift in our physical weight, or at least how we carry ourselves in our bodies.
Yes. Yeah. So mentally, physically, emotionally, yes. Although I'm kind of prepping myself for a bit of an emotional time. Well, it will be what it will be. Well, you know, it's just when the house is gone. You know, sales agreed and everything and whatnot.
Within the next week, the keys are going to be handed over.
Well, this will be going out Tuesday. By the Friday, and on the Friday, the keys get handed over. Yeah. So that will be done. And we can talk about it a bit more in a future podcast. But it's not the emotional attachment to the house. You know, it was the meaning. Yeah. Of the house and why I got the house, etc., etc. But we'll cover that in a future episode.
Yeah, I think there is something for that, right? The way that we make decisions and our motivations for doing the things that we do. Yeah. I definitely think that's a good potential subject for a future episode.
Yeah. So but in and of me and being in this new space, you know.
Which over the last 3 weeks you've started to call home.
Yeah, you noticed that. You pointed that out to me, that I'd started to call it, to refer to it as home. Yeah. You know. So, and that's what it feels like. But even long before I moved in, there was always a homely feel. Yeah. Here, you know. I was always comfortable here. Was and relaxed here, and you're right. In the last 3 weeks or so, I've started referring to it as home. Yeah. You know, and also going through all the getting the address changed on everything.
Everything.
Like, you know, people talk about, you know, securing your personal data and blah 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 blah. But then when you have to move home and you realise just how many places you have to change your address on, how many people you have to inform. You know, from for council tax, your driver's license, where your vehicle's kept, then you've got to also let your insurance know, and then you've got to let all your
credit cards and your banks and your
all these guys know, and and the passport people and all these things. You just have to, you know, it's just like, it's crazy amount of
admin. There's so much admin. Yeah.
To do around that, you know, everything you've got a subscription for where they have your address. It's just like, and it's like,
Yeah.
You know, and then part of my brain goes, wouldn't it be really cool if there was a central service that kind of did that for you?
We have that in Denmark.
Well, we kind of have that here for public sector stuff. So they do have the tell me once. I'm not entirely sure. It's normally used when somebody passes.
Right.
And it's like that, tell me once. And pension, housing, they let everybody who needs to know. But there doesn't seem to be one for everything else. But then you get into data security thing, and then that's a huge, if they get hacked, somebody could walk away with everything, literally. So I can understand why maybe it doesn't exist or people wouldn't want it, but when you're in the moment going through, right, what else do I need to remember to change? So I'm not putting a forwarding address on my postal address because all that ever comes through my door is junk mail anyway. So they can keep sending, if they want to keep sending junk mail, they can keep sending it to my old address. So it's good. It's good. I've very quickly come to just feel that this is home.
It makes me really happy.
Good.
Yeah, that makes me really happy because I want you to be comfortable and I want you to feel at home here. And I am excited to see what's next for you. Yeah.
Well, that will be my next project, I suppose. Starting to look on the employment front and
figure out what's what.
See what's what.
Yeah, I mean, you've taken some really good first steps and you've got stuff lined up, and
I have.
Yeah.
And there's also this. I talked about briefly. It was like, do I want to go and retrain for something? Do I want to take this opportunity to go retrain for something? I never went to university.
Trust me, it's totally overrated.
You know, but I'm kind of like, you know, and it's when I'm doing stuff like the kitchen project that I realise that actually I have a brain that would probably be phenomenal in engineering.
Yes. 100%. There's been so many things in the kitchen where you've had to engineer a solution one way or another.
You know, so I'm kind of like, and I enjoy that. I'm kind of like, do I take a couple of years to go and do like an engineering degree and whatnot? So that's also something that's a consideration for me. You know, and it's just like, and it doesn't matter what age I am. It doesn't, you know, doesn't factor into it. I'm not sitting there going, oh yeah, but if I do that, then it's not that. It's just.
Well, also, let's be honest. We're not going to be allowed to retire until we're at least in our mid-70s anyway. So,
yeah. Well, you know, Thomas, I noticed that Denmark are just increased theirs again.
I hadn't seen, but it doesn't surprise me.
Yeah.
I mean, I think my current retirement age here is 70.
Yeah, I think mine is 68 or 69.
Yeah, mine is currently 70 and I'm 35. So for the amount of time that I have been alive, I still have that amount of time left.
Yeah. To work.
Yeah.
Well, to get your state pension. You know, because this is people talk about state pension age, and and sadly for a lot of people that's what they have to rely on when they retire.
Yeah.
But for those who have got private pensions and stuff like that, it's less of a consideration.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, or if you got the financial means to, then
And absolutely, and I mean I don't have it yet, but I fully intend to win the Euro Millions, and I'm
manifesting it.
Yeah, know, so I'm due. I think I'm due.
Yeah.
So that's that's kind of where I'm at. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, as I said, it doesn't quite feel like 3 months. I had that spell in March that was really hard to shake, where I was just horribly depressed. High functioning. High functioning, but really horribly depressed and really struggling with that. So like end of March, mid-March to sort of like beginning of April. but I think like that's definitely sort of even itself out a bit. There's been a few weeks of calm, and now things are kicking off again on the work front, both good and bad. Like there's a lot of really interesting projects, and there's a lot of really interesting things happening, but there's also a couple of potential overwhelming bits. But yeah, it has over the kitchen project, it's been a little hard for me to do that self-regulation that I've been doing, because we've been working on it. Now granted, the last stretch of the kitchen has been purely you, because it has been a one-person job and lots of calculations, so I've not been as hands-on as I would have liked to have been, but it just wasn't feasible, and it just wasn't possible. Plus I was working, so you were working on it during the day, and I was in work and then came home from work. So I've not been as hands-on as I would have liked to have been, so I have stepped back a bit more and taken, a few hours where I've just been cocooned in my bed to just like try and regulate.
I've liked some of that, because like when I do a bit and then it's like I can give you a shout and go, ta-da!
Yeah, come look. Yeah. When you got the plinth on, I knew that you'd done it because you set it, but I hadn't actually seen it. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, it's further back than I thought it would be. And you're like, yeah. And I was like, I really like it. It makes it really airy. And then
makes it look like a kitchen's floating,
Yeah, exactly. And then like one of the neighbours came in to have a look at it. Yes, well, actually two of our neighbours came in yesterday to have a look at it. And it wasn't until we were there, because obviously I'm used to having you in the kitchen, which you take up more space than a slim
average man.
No, but also like slim little 60-something-year-old woman, So when her and I were standing in the kitchen, I was like, holy shit, there's a lot of space here. It felt so much bigger than it did before, and I don't know if it's not as deep, or I don't.
There is a fraction more space in the middle. With the worktops and that are in there. But there is obviously less length.
But I also, it was
floor space wise.
Yeah, so floor space wise there's less, but it just feels different. I also don't know if it's because the tone of it, like I had that grey vinyl on, and there was a grey countertop, but they were like, it was a cold tone, whereas the dark green has a warmer tone to it. So I don't know if it's that, and it just feels, I don't know, or maybe it's just because I'm so happy I don't hate it every time I step into it. I'm very excited for it to be completely finished. I'm very excited for that.
It's just those last little bits that just, and it's things where you can't do this bit till you've done that bit, till you've done that bit.
And I think it's also because I've not been, as I said, as hands-on. I've not been as actively involved in it. So I'm just like, I can't do anything. I can't do anything to like, hurry this along or like shivvy this along. And
but it is, and it's just it's just little bits like caulking. And
exactly, and things that needs to dry.
A little bit of coving that needs to go on. And things that need, exactly, things that need to dry, and and it's just, but it is that, it's kind of like we need to silicone the sink, so the sink has to be out of commission for 24 hours. And then you can't work around that because you can't disturb the silicone and whilst it's sealing and whatnot. It's just. It's frustrating because you just want to get done, but you're kind of like, no point in doing something, then trying to squeeze in to do something and messing up what you've just done and having to do it again.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think it's just because I'm obviously impatient.
Nobody's ever said that about you.
Especially when I can't actively take part.
Yeah.
Like that's when I like that feeling of being obsolete and just having to sit there, my hands in my lap and waiting for things to happen. I'm not very good with that. But I'm so happy with it. I'm genuinely so happy. And like I'm spending so much more time in the kitchen.
Mostly sitting on the floor, yeah.
Yeah, sitting on the floor, even when the underfloor heating isn't on.
Well, that's because the floor, even when the underfloor heating isn't on, the floor isn't like a block of ice.
But it's also because the space is just so welcoming.
Yeah.
It's so welcoming.
Yeah.
You know, and again, it's the back door. You bought that bench, so we have that bench thing, you know, just outside the door, so we can sit and we can have conversations and things, and
That's another thing that I've discovered is that I really love sitting outside of a morning.
Yeah, well, I knew you
of
would.
An afternoon, and you know, actually, I really enjoy just sitting outside.
Yeah.
You know, it's not something I've done much of it before.
But I also think if you don't have a space that feels like a good place to do that, I don't think that you notice that you won't have a need or a wish for doing it if you don't have a comfortable space to sit in.
Yeah. And I mean, my weirdly orange tam has told me that I've been spending a healthy amount of time out of doors. Really. We've had glorious weather.
We have. Oh, we really have.
For the last 3 weeks, the weather here has been amazing, and with me outside chopping and cutting things and just sitting having a coffee break or whatever it be, I've got a bit of a tan, which is way more orange than I've ever had before. You know, so yeah, it's way more orange than the fake tan I had.
No, it's not. It's really not.
No,
it's really not.
It's getting there. It's getting there. It takes me back.
Yes, yeah.
I've once in my life done a fake tan, and yeah, so that was for it was for an event.
Yeah, I was about to say, it was an event, it was not a dare.
No.
Which it could have been.
Oh, it so could easily have
could have been.
It so could easily have been. Actually, no, I'm more likely to get involved in a dare which would involve me turning blue than to get one that involved fake tan.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah, and I think we've not had any problems.
The only thing is episode 10. If you haven't listened, go back and listen.
Oh yeah. You know.
But that is generally the only thing that has been there, and I think like the intention with this podcast was to make sure that we had conversations when something arose. But I think we've made it something different because there hasn't been that, but it's authentically us, right? These conversations and the subjects we're talking about and how we're talking about it, it is really authentically us. And I do think, I don't know, you know, you are a stats person, and you went in the other day looking at stats and trying to figure, you know, where we're at and if anyone is listening out there, you know, and I find it interesting, but I don't. This is going to sound really bad. It's not that I don't care. I obviously care.
Yeah.
And we have received some feedback on a few things that we are looking at. So hopefully on this podcast, you will hear a change. On the intro and like small things.
Oh, just some of the levels. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was commented that the initial intro was a bit loud.
Yeah.
Compared to the rest of it. So
we listened back and we were like, oh yes, no, definitely see that.
Yeah, and it's like it's attention grabbing, but maybe not by giving somebody a coronary on it. So
yeah, and we moved away from the squeaky but comfortable seats. And we're back.
Yeah, I'm still not convinced that's an issue thing. But
I do think that's an element. So anyway, we will see. We are always open for feedback. So, But other than that, you know, over the last 3 months, I don't know. It feels very natural, and we've really just fallen right into a routine.
Yeah.
which I like. I like myself a routine.
Yeah.
So yeah, no.
You like yourself a routine. I need myself a routine.
Yeah, but I also think because I do like a routine, and I do like, I won't say forcefully install a routine, but but I just go about my business in the timeline and timetable that I have in my head. And that will ultimately impact you, right? So when I'm like, right, I'll get up on a Sunday morning, I walk the dog, I come back, I take stock of what we have, what we need, what does the week look like, and then before 9 a.m. I am out and I've done the food shop.
Supermarket shop, yeah.
And then I come back and I have like iced coffees and pastries with me, and then we'll sit down. Sometimes we'll have a normal coffee, but we'll sit down, we'll have a catch up, we'll just talk through a few things and have pastries and drink coffee, and then, you know.
Old Sunday.
Well, yeah, but then I'll be like, all right, let's get going, or like cleaning.
Yeah. You know, so, yeah, and I mean, absolutely. And I mean, even though doing the kitchen has knocked some of that routine, it was mostly around meal prep.
Yes.
And you know, because that was the only time you were ever going into the kitchen, or I was going into the kitchen, really was for meal prep. You know, it was if you were going outside, it was the space you had to pass through. You know, it was that to get to the nice outside.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, it's but yeah, I think you're right. You have a routine. I need routine, and I know I need routine. And my routine is fitting with your routine.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Yeah.
At the moment.
Well, see, that's the thing. You know, right now you are free to just fit in and around that, and then once your life starts, you know, taking off in a different direction.
It's also, I think, it's important to highlight that when we talk about routine, it's not like super rigid, nothing must change, you know.
No.
We will be sitting of a day or whatever and go, shall we go to the cinema this evening?
Yeah.
And we'll just go to the cinema this evening.
Yeah.
Or we'll go,
oh crap, it's 7:30 tonight. We haven't planned dinner. What do we fancy eating?
Oh, yeah, or, you know, actually, do you know what? I fancy fish and chips tonight. You know, so we will park whatever we had planned and we'll have fish and chips. So, yeah, because there's routine and there's routine.
Yes.
You know, and so, yeah, it's not like a strict, it's 8:07, time for whatever it be, you know. Yeah, so that's that. But yeah, so that's that. So yeah, kitchen is just about 100% buttoned up. The bits that I did this morning mean that the kitchen is now fully functional, or will be in about an hour. When that last bit of silicone that I put in, it has got to the stage where it's
cured.
No,
is that the right word?
It's 24 hours to cure, but it is not going to suddenly burst into flames if a bit of water goes near it. In about an hour's time, it will be at a stage whereby, you don't want to be soaking it, but if it got a little bit moist, then it's not going to. Apologies for anybody who dislikes that word. We had that discussion.
Oh, we did have that conversation.
You know, so and the kitchen will be 100% fully functional. There's bits that are not going to get done for another week because I've got to get bits when I'm.
Yeah, because we have some supplies up your end that was originally going to be used for your corridor. Yeah. And you're like, oh wait, actually we never did that. But I have that and we can use that here.
We can reutilize them elsewhere, So, my brain was going to go to something else, but I can't remember.
Yeah, so I've got a little bit of painting.
Yes.
That needs done. Yeah. But it's that, you know, when you're working around and then you scratch a wall, or you're like, oh, well, actually we're not covering that bit, so that now needs painting. Or like, oh, we put this beading on here, but we've had to do a cut, so actually that now needs painted.
Touch up the end of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's all a little bit, and a tiny little bit of cornicing around the boiler box that we built in.
Yes.
to that.
I'm very excited to get cornicing up because
I'm very excited to get cornicing up and get it done, because it is like any DIYers out there who have never done cornicing or coving, some people call it coving, around the top of a roof. It is the stuff of nightmares. Now, I'm mathematically minded, geometrically minded, very spatially aware, and this stuff is giving me a migraine.
But to be fair, there is nothing in that kitchen that's level or plumb or like squared off. There is
but I enjoy the challenge of it. But for some reason, because coving is curved, it sits on a 45-degree slant. It has internal and external corners, and the existing coving, which is in, was not installed properly. Mm-hmm. So
nothing in the kitchen was installed
at the angle that it should be installed at. So I've been trying to. It's been really challenging, but it has like made my head hurt.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's only like 3 bits to go in, but it's around a box with a step in it, and it's just kind of like But it will not beat me.
No, it will not.
It will not beat me, and I'm also determined that I'm going to do it within the one length of material that we bought, and I'm not going to have to go and buy any more. So
so interesting that you're saying that, because I was thinking that the other day when you started talking about it, and I'm like, I knew there was a reason we bought the full length, and we were, because you're like, oh my God, we've got so much, what are we going to do? And I'm like...
But also we didn't have as much as I thought. I thought it was 2.4 metre length. It wasn't a 2.4 metre length.
No, it wasn't. It was like 2 metre?
I don't even think it was that. It was like 1.8 or something. But it doesn't matter.
I don't know. It felt very tall standing next to me.
Yeah. So it wasn't quite my height. So I think 1.8 metres.
Oh, okay. Okay. Well, that's still at least a foot, I think. About a foot taller than I am.
30 centimetres or so. So and that was that. So I got a weed burner. That's
yes,
probably,
you did.
That's probably going to be something for future stories.
Right. But the fence is now has a bird look to it.
Yeah. No.
Maybe. We'll see.
I mean, I did just about set the new kitchen on fire the other day, so...
Yes. I came back from a really trying day, and I was moaning about stuff from work, and I came in and I was like, I just need to lie down. Like, I just need to lie down for 15 minutes, and then I'll walk the dog, and then we can set off for cinema. And you were like, okay, well, whilst you're here, I have something I need to tell you. And I was like, good or bad? And you're like, it's not good. And I was like, okay, fine, just tell me. And you go, well, I accidentally melted one of the feet on the, what's it called?
Trivet.
Yeah. Okay.
With pot stand, yeah.
Yeah, a pot stand, a metal pot stand. It had plastic legs on it. And you're like, and then I almost set fire to the cardboard box that was standing on top of it with the toaster in it. And I was like, well, at least you didn't set fire to it. So, we don't really need the box, and whatever, if the plastic thing is melted, the plastic thing is melted. And I was like, and to be fair, we knew that was going to happen because we had it standing on top of the stove.
Yes.
But have you noticed that? So ever since you raised the stove up, have you, or the cooker, I'm aware that I'm using an American, I don't know, like, I think, I don't know, it doesn't matter.
Stove or cooker?
Used a cooker.
Answers in the comments.
Yes, exactly. Is stove American? I don't know. Is it cooker? Is cooker better? What do people use?
Well, I think stove would have possibly been used previously in the UK, and it's become cooker. I don't know.
Do you think it's like what's it called, an argon cuts type, like, word that you had like a stove top?
Yeah, maybe. But we would call that a hob now.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't matter.
Yes, semantics.
It's a freestanding cooker.
It is a freestanding cooker. So ever since you've raised it up, have you noticed that we're not actually putting stuff on it to the same degree? Well, isn't that interesting?
It's because you're not putting stuff into it.
Yeah.
Because it sat lower than the worktop previously. It was I'll just put that in there. But now there's no in there because it sits level. I think that I think there is something psychosomatic.
Yeah.
If that's the correct term, mentally going on there.
Yeah, but I definitely wasn't. Because I could feel it. Like it was so natural for me to put it down on top of that.
And you also have an extra meter of worktop space, so
I do.
There's less need to be storing stuff on top of the cooker.
Yeah.
So that could also be playing a factor.
Yeah, I don't know.
But I have.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very interesting.
It also could be because I could also have stopped doing it because in my brain I'm going, you don't want to set anything else on fire, or risk setting anything else on fire.
Yeah, I don't know. But either way, very, very, very happy with the kitchen. And really happy with the arrangement.
Yeah, I think
of living here. And also have to say, I'm really excited about the prospect of potentially building you an annex in the garden.
To be continued.
Yeah, so actually on that note, do you have any final things you think we should cover?
I don't. I think that's it. I think all in all, apart from episode 10, everything's been good. Everything's been smooth.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Everything's been smooth. I think we vibe really well on so many things.
Yeah, but we're also really good at talking.
Yeah.
Right, we're really good at talking things through and doing it in a very non-judgmental way, being like, listen, how about this?
Yep.
And then be like, okay, let me think about it.
But I think we're so comfortable to the point is actually there's probably things that we have talked about that just don't come up as being that's something that we had to have a discussion on.
But you know what? We've always been like that.
Yeah.
Right? We've always been like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I couldn't have done a project like the kitchen with anyone but you.
Oh, and likewise.
Like, some of the things where I would have gotten really frustrated with another person, I trust you implicitly.
Yeah.
And I would be like, okay, well, if you're saying that that's the best way to do it, I trust you implicitly, so I'm going to step away, And
I'm also, and I've not always been like this with people. Sometimes I would confidently say something and go, I'm pretty sure of that, but I'm going to go and do my homework. But with you, and I think it's not necessarily with you as I become older thing, where I'm not so necessarily sure, where I'm fairly certain I'll go, I need to check that.
Yeah.
And I will say that, and I will say to you, like, actually, I need to go and check that. I think this, but I need to go and check that.
But I also think that there've been things like with the beading the other day.
Yeah. Right?
Where you were like, I'm kind of thinking, taking it up to here or to there. And I was like, no, I would actually take it to there because. Yeah. And you're like, oh, no, then it's not. And I was like, no, but we're also putting other things in, and I just think that will. And you're like, yeah, good point.
Yeah. I'm not overly stubborn in that, and with things like that where you're involved. With other people, I absolutely might be, but
yeah.
Cool. So let's call this one to a close. So thank you for tuning in to Shared Frequencies and the Space Between.
We hope that our conversation today has helped you find a little more clarity in your own space between, whatever that might look like.
And remember, it's okay to be a work in progress, just like our kitchen. We're all just figuring it out one frequency at a time.
So, if you've enjoyed this episode, or any of the other episodes, please don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, or share it with someone who might also like to hear it.
So until next time, keep tuning in and finding the space that works for you.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.